Good evening, everyone out there in internet land. Welcome to Blue Sunday, proudly brought to you by the boys on the Jumper Punch. My name is Bangkok Joe, and joining me, as per usual, is my co-host, Carlton Life member, how, I don't know, and former president of the Carltonians, Mr. Vince Lochasana, the golden tonsils himself. How are you tonight, Vince?
Oh, Joe, what can I say? Who needs a great introduction when you've got someone like you to give it to you?
Wipe that grin off your face. Anyone would think we won a game of football.
Well, wasn't it a great come from behind win? One for the ages, I think, on Friday night. And I reckon that'll be talked about just as much as the Carlton-Melbourne final, to be frank. We climbed the mountain. We didn't manage to do it. Yeah, we didn't manage to do it in the prelim final, and nothing will replace that. But certainly coming back to the same venue and turning the tables the way we did on Friday night when all looked gone halfway through the second quarter. A tremendous victory. And I guess it just goes to show you should never give up. And you should never take a lead for granted either if you're a Brisbane supporter.
Do you know what? I'll explain to you what happened later, but I was working on Friday, and when I was listening on the radio and it was a goal apiece, and then I got into an underground and I couldn't get any internet reception. Yeah. And when I got home, it was 7-1, and I'm like, oh, geez, I should have went to the pub. But I opened up a bottle of red wine at home, sat here by myself, and sort of celebrated. Hey, let's keep moving. Let's get rid of the formalities, and then we're really pleased to bring you our new comments guy. Got big shoes to fill after Peter Brown was here last year, but I'm sure this guy's going to do a more than admirable job. So as you know, guys, we are a Facebook, YouTube channel. So we rely on your support. So please feel free to like and subscribe and share. On Facebook, we are at Blue Sunday. And on YouTube, we are part of the Jumper Punch channel. So please, please, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, Vince and I get sick of talking to each other. So this show is for you guys. So we really encourage you to make comments. You can agree with us, disagree with us. You can do whatever you want. We don't really care. You can even abuse us like you did last year. Someone called me an effing idiot last year. He's probably right. I don't know. Good to him. And
I don't think we need to use expletives just to get the point across. This show's never prided itself on swearing or anything like that, Joe.
Oh, you know that's effing bullshit.
I don't think you need to use it. I honestly don't.
Nah. Well, we did a few times when we were losing last year, and we were going, what the fuck were those?
You might have. I didn't.
I never did. Anyway, last but not least, as you realise, this show is proudly sponsored by my company, Retired Working For You Tours. We do everything Thailand. So whether you want to come on a tour, whether you want some advice, hotels, trips, please, please, please look us up, www.rw4utours.com. And if you want to email me, it's info@rw4utours.com.
I'll tell you what, Joe, I reckon a lot of Thailand holidays would be even cheaper than Australian holidays in terms of flights, accommodation, and even just the cost of buying things out there. Whether it be just meals and drinks and stuff like that, it seems to be very good value over there.
I hear that airfares are pretty expensive. Hotels are comparable, but once you get here, it's so much cheaper. I mean, just for example, I took 2 clients out today. We had a huge lunch. They couldn't even finish it. We went for a yum cha and stuff like that. It cost me $22.
Oh, what, for all of you?
Yeah, for all. And that
wasn't just your meal. It was everyone.
Everyone's. And that included beer. So
where's mine?
Anyway. Get out. Anyway, what everyone has been waiting for, because we're changing the format. Last year we went into the games. This year we thought we'd get straight into the football. So let me introduce someone who we are proud to announce to our family or introduce to our family. I've said to him I'm going to embarrass him. He said he's done 1 million times. So I'm going to get him on. He's going to explain to us what everything was. So please welcome Mr. David Rhys-Jones. David, how are you tonight?
Oh, thanks very much for that one. Yeah, good shot, that one. You can tell I've got better with age, haven't you? But I'm actually
you have, mate.
I'm starting from a pretty low base there, though, aren't
I? Tell me, are you still 6'2" and 73 kegs?
Well, I've just come back. I'm just 6'2" again because I've had my knees straightened up. I just had both my knees replaced, so I'm hitting 6'2" again, which is good. Yeah, I was down to about 6 foot, to be honest. My legs are bone. I was walking around like Steve Silvani. God bless his soul.
And what about the 73 kgs? Or is that a distant memory?
I wish. Yeah, no, I wish. I'm trying to. I've actually lost about. I've been on a bit of a fitness kick at the moment, so I've lost 7 kilos, a bit over that actually, since I've had my knees done, and yeah, so I'm looking to get under the ton shortly.
Well, that's good. David, so you were recruited from Oakley Districts in '79. Yep. Were you always a Swan supporter or Carlton? Who did you support growing up?
I actually supported Carlton and I supported Richmond and hated Carlton. I used to I used to have number 4 on my back. Royce Hart was my hero sort of thing, and my brother had Alex Cheselenko 25 on his back, and we'd go out the back and
practice taking speakers on each other.
So, yeah. He used to get asthma, so he was taller than me, and he was a year older than me, and a bit stronger than that. So I used to wait till he got a bit of asthma, and then I'd give it to him.
That's right. And it says here you had to work on curbing your aggression. Is that still the case?
It says, but he's having to work on curbing. That one never worked. No, it never. No. Probably should have, but
you're one of these players that was well known for having what they called white line fever, Rhys. And
it's a bit different these days with Ben Cousins and all that white line fever. It's got different connotations these days, isn't it? Jamie Carr.
I was just going to say it's a different white line fever these days, but. I see there that you used to be a forklift driver as well. How did that
I've done everything. There's not much I can't do.
but you know,
a bit like Jimmy Buckley.
But like the youth of today, you enjoyed playing video games.
Well, it was funny because when I first started, I must have only just got a job at that stage, sort of thing, because I started when I was 17 at South Melbourne and. Skinny kid sort of thing. So that would have been my second year. So they must have got me a job. But my first year, I was just playing.
Playing video games down at the local arcade.
I was on the dole while I was playing league footy.
Playing on the dole.
Don't tell them that. I had 7 years.
Well, I wasn't getting paid enough. I was getting $120 a game, so I was under the cap anyway.
Well, that's okay. And your other interests were cricket and discos. Which one were you better at, the cricket or the discos?
I liked discos, but didn't like music.
Okay. So you
were
there for something else other than just the music, Rhys, I gather.
Well, and having a look at that card, I now know why I didn't have too much success there either.
That's all right. So just last, Rhys. When you got recruited to South Melbourne, what were your reactions being a Richmond supporter? Or were you just happy to play AFL or VFL football at the time?
Oh, yeah. Well, Richmond, my first year was 1980. Richmond won the flag, so I don't think I would have played footy with them that year, but and probably would have had to make my way through under 19. So I was a little bit lucky down at South Melbourne. Me and Stuart was trying to look for kids who he liked and so forth. So he gave me a real bit of a real leg up, I suppose. And so I only played. I didn't play any under 19s footy. I went straight into the seniors practice matches, and ended up I played 5 games in the reserves to start with, and then played 4 senior games. I actually broke my leg in my 4th game. So
and that was in 1980.
1980, yeah. So broke my leg at the
Junction Oval. So did you celebrate Richmond's
Troy.
premiership? Being a Richmond supporter, did you actually celebrate the premiership?
Well, I'll tell you what, South Melbourne actually beat Richmond in the last game of the year that year, and I think to knock them off the top of the ladder. I think Carlton might have even got on top. I can't remember who But we beat them in the last game of the year. And I was on crutches still from a broken leg. And because I had a Swans top on, and I'd been with a few people having a few beers and that, and I was walking across to the social club, and a couple of Richmond blokes yelled out something to me, and I yelled back, and the next minute was on, and I was swinging crutches, and these guys obviously got the better of me. And I didn't like Richmond after that.
So just lastly, David, how did you get to Carlton?
Well, that was the end of 1984. We went up to Sydney.
So therefore, you'd gone up to Sydney with South Melbourne, didn't you, during that time?
Been part of the move up to Sydney. I was the second player to actually physically move up there.
Yep.
I actually got a job with the removal company. They dropped me off. They dropped all my stuff off, and they go, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Well, nothing." I said, "You got some work for me?" And they said, "Yeah, we have actually." So, which is fantastic. I got to work my way. I knew my way around Sydney pretty quickly because I was doing removals. It got me fit too. But anyway, I did that over the summer, and Sydney was a hard place. The first year we lived up there, I lived there for 2 years. The first year they made a mistake. They had basically a South Melbourne team flying up there every second weekend and playing on a Sunday, and it wasn't until we probably should have moved up there that first year. But anyway, we're a Victorian team going up there, and the second year was pretty tough, and the third year there, but the second year living there, I sort of you get used to Sydney, get used to living. You have to, because it just goes 100 miles an hour. So I was pretty happy up there, and at the end of the season, they sacked the Swans administration and put their own people in, and basically said to them, if you any player who won't be getting a raise in their contract next year. Now, my contract was going up $10,000 from $30,000 to $40,000 for the year, and I would have put a deposit down the house and probably be up there and would have stayed there, and I was relying on that money. And don't forget, we were getting paid in March for the year before, when the allocation come from the AFL, and we're getting paid. So we had to rely on the trust of the people who were up there, and next minute I've sacked these people, put their own people in, told us we're not getting, our contract. So I stuck firm, and I spoke to my accountant. We did have managers, so I spoke to my accountant who put my contract together, and he actually said that I put a clause in your contract saying that if you demand your money and you're not paid within 30 days, once the season's finished, your contract will become null and void. Well, I said nacked it straight away, because they had no money. The VFL back in those days, people would know they had no money. No one had money. Money wasn't anywhere near what it is now. And I knew they wouldn't be able to pay me unless someone come out of the woodwork. And then I still would have stuck at it and wanted my contract the next year if they had paid me. But and it would have been the earliest I'd been paid for the 5 years I'd been there anyway. So. Well, they didn't pay me in time. They actually paid me about 3 or 4 days after, which was fantastic, because I got my money then. And I think they thought then they'll let the 30 days run out, and then they'll give me my money, and I'll be all nice about it. Well,
yeah,
no, that was it. I wanted to make a move then, and I thought I'll get back to Melbourne. And get back to family, friends, and everything, and so that's how it all come about. And Carlton was the only club I spoke to.
Well, we're very
glad that come about. Did they chase? No.
I basically said, where do you want to go? He said, look, there'll be clubs ringing and everything. And I said, well, look, I haven't played in a finals game yet. I want to play finals footy. I think Essendon and Hawthorn had just played in the grand final. So
previous 2 years, yeah.
So I basically, looked down. I said, look, he had some contacts. The bloke's name was Peter Lefkovic, and he was an accountant for a few of the Carlton boys. So he had a contact with Colo there. I went and met with Colo and Keith McKenzie in the morning on a Saturday morning, and had a chat to them. They were all happy, and they worked out contracts and things. I didn't want anything to do with that, but and then they said, "Oh, we'll get you to sign the contract." And I said, "Well, I'm not signing anything until I talk to the coach." I said, "I didn't know I'm wanted, and I just don't want to be landing here and not wanted." So actually, organised for the coach, David Parkin, at the time to be there that afternoon. And so I went back, had to talk to him over the course of the day, signed the papers, and that was it. And I didn't even tell my wife at the time, but yeah, so no, so I didn't even tell her. But anyway, it was all done and dusted, and that was it. I was back in Melbourne.
Well,
and it created a huge furor. I mean, Carlton had to pay the highest transfer fee in the history of the game at that stage. So the VFL were really dirty on, but it was their fault. You know, it was their fault.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if I had a contract there, I had a contract with the Swans, and was willing to play out that third year up there, and would have stayed there.
But we're happy you came anyway, David. And Sandra McDonald wants to know: did you and Diesel ever like each other?
Yeah, I run into Diesel a bit these days. So, look, I have mentioned to him that if he ever wants to go out and if he's going to play Super Rules or a charity game or something one day, that to let me know, because I might line up on the other team. And you know, what happens on the field stays on the field, but you don't forget.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, before we get into the game, we should we'll get into the review. We've heard about Doherty and he's done his knee.
Yep.
So a lot of rumours going around, Vince, that he may retire tomorrow.
Really? Well,
yeah. Well,
look,
how old is he? 31?
He's only just turned 30 in October last year.
Yeah.
So, you know, he's 30 and not even 30 and a half. I think, I don't know about you, but even before he did the knee, I detected that he just slowed up a yard or two. What did you think, Rhys? I just detected even in the practice matches and even on Friday night before he did his knee that he was just a little bit slow on occasions. But look, I think the biggest concern is this will be his third ACL, and I think it's almost three strikes. It's almost three strikes you're out when it comes to ACLs. But you know, who knows? I'd love to see him come back and you know, make it in time for a premiership. But who knows? He may very well decide to call time on his career. Who could blame him after all of the adversity he's been through with cancer and 3 knee reconstructions? Now this will be. So look, you feel for him, but it's only his decision, isn't it?
Look, you can understand. I retired when I was 30, and I played, you know, the last game in 1992. Yep. Last few games, I got back into the seniors. You know, I'd had a terrible run with knee injuries and that, but yeah, and I didn't really think I could get through a pre-season again. So I'd actually done a lot of work in a boxing gym and a various. You know, I was actually working with Mickey McGuan, to be perfectly honest. Mick McGuan with a boxing coach. We worked together right through that season, and that was the only reason I really, you know, pushed myself and got to play. But I knew I was done and dusted, and I hope he's not, because he's such a great leader out there. And I think, you know, to win, you know, to win that game, and you've got to think about it. Walsh and Wiedering are two of our real good on-field leaders, and we didn't have Doherty out there as well in that second half. So that's where you really got to give the credit to the guys. And on you know, on Thursday that they were just fantastic. It was Friday. It was just a great game.
Let's get to the game. Yeah. So Vince, if you'd like to give us the scores, if you want to run through quarter by quarter.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I noticed that the final score was exactly the same as a preliminary final last year between Collingwood and GWS. Exactly the same amount of goals and points, 13,886 was Collingwood and 12,1385 was GWS. But anyway, quite often the scores are hovering around this sort of mid-70s, mid-80s between these sorts of sides. Of course, we saw a massive first quarter by the Brisbane Lions, 7-2-44 to 2 goals, 12. 9 shots to 2, and they were pretty accurate at that stage. And I think most of us at quarter time thought, oh, my goodness, this game looks over already. And then in the second quarter, they kicked the first 2. In fact, they got out to 9-5-59 to 2-1-13 at one stage. 46 points in front halfway through that quarter. And I think everyone was thinking, Brisbane by how much? Then all of a sudden, we seemed to turn it around, kick the last 2 goals, 3 of the quarter. and brought that margin back from 46 back to 31 points at halftime, which was 1 point less than it was at quarter time. And then, of course, that scintillating third quarter where Carlton kicked 7 goals to 1 goal 6, and that really turned the game around. 11-6-72 at three-quarter time, 1 point in front of Brisbane, 10-11-71. And both teams in an arm wrestle in that last quarter scored 2 goals, 2 each. So the margin again remained at 1 point on the final siren. 13-8, 86 to Brisbane, 12-13, 85. And they must have been shaking their heads after the game thinking, how on earth did we lose that game? But you've got to give the boys credit. They never gave in. They kept fighting back. And, yes, in the absence of leaders like Wiedering, Walsh and Doherty, I can't speak highly enough of Patrick Cripps and the leadership he showed on the field, and some of the other senior players now that you'd call, experienced players now, such as Charlie Curnow, Harry Mackay, etc. They stood up when they needed to. It was a fantastic victory.
Let me just put a few key stats up, and then I'll get you guys to give your analysis of the game.
Yep.
So disposals, I've anything that's in red is whoever was
in front,
the winner. Yeah. So 216 kicks to 211. They had more marks. We had more handballs. We had more contested and uncontested possessions. If you look at it at half time, the contested possessions was really skewed towards them. And I think that's probably to our credit that we came out in that third and fourth quarters. The hit-outs, 29-28, pretty easy, which I thought TDK did a good job because that McInerney's a bit of a beast and TDK's just young. Clearances are pretty similar. Tackles fairly similar. Free kicks. And the one that you were talking about, Vince, that I probably need to put up next time is accuracy. They had 62 inside 50s and could only manage 12 goals, whereas we had 49 and got 13 goals. So, David, give us your wrap of the game. You can start at the first quarter. You can go from best players to worst players. You can tell us what you liked, what you didn't like. You're the one that's played the game. You give us a player's perspective.
Well, the first quarter's one to be forgotten for a start. It was It was, and the mistakes were being made. There were a lot of mistakes, and I must admit, like every Carlton supporter, I was worried at quarter time. I thought they were going to smash us if they had kept playing the way. And we're making mistakes on the back line, but there was a lot of pressure coming from the midfield, and where it really turned around, and where you got to give credit is Paddy Cripps and George Hewitt. They in that second quarter, they put their nose over the ball. They did the hard things. They won hard possessions, contested possessions, which we weren't winning. And we're able to stem the tide. And what it also did was not allow Brisbane to just, their run was just unbelievable in that first quarter, from the back line and through the midfield. And they were just picking us apart. So we were able to quell that. And that was, full credit to our midfield. And we were able to just slowly turn it around. And I think that's the credit we really need to give to this team at the moment, and the way Michael Voss is coaching them and so forth, is that they don't give up. They think they're still in the game, and they'll keep pushing. And it's a great trait to have. It's easy to, an old saying, give up, never won a race. But there's a lot of times people have just given up and not gone to the end. So and you get punished because of that. So they were fantastic, and you really got to give credit to all of them. The whole team, because they all lifted, they all did their little things they had to do, and one of the main things was our disposal and just the way we were able to move the ball. We moved the ball a lot better, and we did make the mistakes we were making early, and we're able to get it in. And when you got Harry Mackay and Charlie Curnow down forward, you can create a lot of damage. And I know, Vince, you're going to bring up the points that Brisbane kicked, and we might have been a bit lucky, but we got the forward line that kicks goals. We don't kick points, and while they're giving the ball back to us down the other end, we're setting up on our end and putting them through. And Big H, I've just seen a message coming through down the bottom there. Was absolutely fantastic. And don't forget that he was our second ruckman as well over the course of the game. So he did it. And Cripper was in there as well. I saw Kennedy rucking at one stage as well. So they mixed that up a bit too, but he did a fair amount of that second ruck work as well, Big H. And to see him kick that goal was just fantastic. I think every Carlton supporter screamed when he took that mark. And then the next thing is, oh, Jesus, Harry's got it. Harry's on it. And I
think everyone was worried in case he decided to do one of those around the corner kicks.
Well, did you notice he didn't do one round the corner kick?
No. He was getting them pretty well out in front. So he wasn't on an angle that many times, but he's a beautiful drop kicker.
Yeah.
He kicked a ball in from the wing into Patrick Cripps at one stage and hit him lace out. And he's a beautiful kick. So that stuff is all above the shoulders, and hopefully he's got on top of it. I think kicking that goal is going to give him an enormous amount of confidence, and it'll lift a big weight off his shoulders about going in and kicking the next goal, because if he does miss, who cares? He kicked the one that counted, sort of thing. So, I mean, people are going to, as Rossi said after the game, he said there's a lot of people nitpicking around it, and it's fair enough too, because you're paid to put them through the big sticks, and when you're missing everything, it's people can ask questions. You've got to be allowed to ask questions. So no one's infallible to be getting criticised.
But
it was a fantastic effort right across the board.
Sorry, Joe.
No, I was going to say, Reece, is there anything that you didn't like about us on Friday? Like, was there kicking to packs or lack of pace? Was there something that you sort of thought we need to work on, other than being coming from 7 goals down all the time?
Well, right across the pre-season, I didn't see that that intensity. I think last year I was pretty critical. I mean, I remember after the Essendon game, I said, I'm not going to go and watch them again this year. They were just terrible, and it wasn't. And I don't care if they get beat, but I want to see people having a go. I want to see them chasing. I want to see them tackling. I want to see them doing the little things, the smothers, all those little things, spoils. The 1%, as we used to call them back in the day. But I wanted to see them doing that. And that's what got them back into a really good team last year. And if you look at the pressure we applied to Brisbane after quarter time, or a quarter and 10 minutes, I suppose, and we put the pressure back on them. And that's what we need to do. And when we're playing good footy, if you're not getting a kick or whatever, you just get in there and do those little things, and they're going to make a world of difference down the track. And as soon as you stop doing those things, and we weren't during the pre-season, the 2 pre-season games, we weren't doing it. So hopefully that teaches them something that, get out there, just chase, tackle, do those little things, the hard things. They don't show up on the stat sheet, but they win your games of football.
And was there anything that they really liked? Like, did you like a bit? Like, I was really impressed with that young Carroll when he came on. I thought. I didn't even know he was on the list. I'd never heard of him. Right?
I've been talking about him for a couple of years, to be honest. He's a beautiful left foot player, and he's had some injury issues. I remember when he first got drafted, and I thought, geez, this kid's he's going to be a jet. And left footers always look good too. They're just natural. They just look natural, sort of thing. And I've been talking about him for a few years, but injuries haven't helped him. But hopefully, this is he was a reasonably high draft pick, and a lot of big raps on him coming across from Western Australia. So Doherty going down, it could be a blessing in disguise from his point of view, anyway. And let's hope he can go on with it now.
Yeah. What about you, Vince? What did you make?
I was going to ask Reece, that first quarter. Apart from the mistakes that you alluded to before that they were making in defence, I noticed that the tackle count was way down. It was something like 6 or 7 tackles for the quarter, which is just not enough to create any sort of pressure on the opposition. It was so easy for the Brisbane midfield to just deliver the ball into their forward line, and we saw them getting goals and over the back, all that sort of thing constantly, and that's what was letting us down in that first quarter. That there was no intensity and no real defensive pressure put on the opposition, I noticed. But that's what turned around halfway through that second quarter.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Those 1%ers, the little things, the chasing, the tackling, the putting pressure on the opposition. That's the real key to it. And if you're not, applying that to them, teams will tear you apart. And that's what Brisbane did to us. And you look at, even Collingwood, the way they play when they score, when they're scoring heavily, they score in batches because they just run hard and you really got to hold them up, sort of thing. So it's it's a real big part of the game in applying the pressure and those little things. It's easy, kicking the goals and when you've got the ball, but I think you got the teams who work harder when they haven't got the ball normally win the game. Yeah,
and the other thing I was going to allude to was, and Joe sort of touched on it, was the ruck situation with De Koning. I thought, in fact, I called for it last week for the team to go with only the one recognised ruckman rather than having Pitnet and De Koning in the one team. I called for this, and I actually suggested De Koning needed to be given that extra responsibility. He's been on the list now for 7 or 8 years, and I'd be making him the number one ruckman, and he rose to the challenge. He both him and Pitnet got absolutely towelled up by McInerney in that prelim final last year, but I thought De Koning matched it with McInerney this time. They got pretty much even numbers of hit-outs, and around the ground I thought he was quite good, and Harry pinch hitting the ruck for the majority of the game as a backup ruckman. I thought that made a big difference as well.
Well, I think from that point of view, we saw in the Melbourne game, Pitnet against and he's underdone it. He's really underdone at the moment, and and I was hoping they didn't play him. Not that I'm saying he shouldn't be playing. I hope he is back in the team shortly, but he needs a few more hit-outs. He's obviously, hasn't had an ideal preparation, so he's a little bit behind it, but hopefully he's back in 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah, he looked really ordinary in that practice match.
He struggled. He really did struggle against Melbourne, and you could tell he was underdone. So, give him a chance. He'll be back in there, and, we'll be needing him. It's putting Harry into the ruck, especially in those centre ruck knockouts, bounces. A lot of players have done their posterior cruciate ligament in those ruck contests. So we wouldn't want Harry Mackay going down because of that, because we had to fill in a ruckman. But Pitto will be back, and in the meantime, De Koning can take the bulk of it.
Do you think he is our number one ruckman though, David, or would you stick with TDK?
Pitnet. I think I love seeing Tom De Koning down forward as well. So I think Pitnet in the ruck doing the bullocking type of work, and TDK is sort of floating around doing a lot of ruck work, but also, I think he could be a real danger down forward too. So, when especially when Harry or Charlie, one of them's off the ground having a break, I think he can really come into his own. And TDK is going to be a special sort of player. We obviously haven't seen the best of him yet, and hopefully that best is something really, really good. But I prefer to see him as the second ruck still at this stage, and Pitnet doing the bullocking work, and TDK doing a lot of fancy stuff around the ground. That can help us.
Yeah. What about? We had a new player in Orazio Fantasia. What did you think? I was a bit sceptical when we bought him. I thought, I don't know. I mean, he didn't stand out. I suppose he did a few things. Do you think that he's a better bet than Motlop, or would you go with the younger guy?
Oh, no, there's a bit of pressure on those blokes. Motlop, Owie, Sturden, now Fantasia there. I was surprised they played him, to be honest. And
me too.
On, I thought, only because of the lack of football he's played over.
He's been very injury prone, hasn't he?
Well, it's not even so much that. I mean, you really and like Pitnet, as I said, you need 2 or 3, games.
Hit
And
outs.
when you've been out of the game for as long as he has and not playing any footy, not too many players can just step right back in and hit it. But he did some good things, and he's going to get better for it. But still to be. But that's the other thing is, and what I do like is the amount of pressure that is going on all the players at the moment, because there are players going to be coming back. Walsh, Wiedering, Martin, as certain is to be coming back. Motlop probably. There's a lot of them who are coming back through. So there's pressure on the players who are in there to stay in there. So it's going to be a good team to be a part of. So you wouldn't want to get through your attitude or I think they'll all be having a crack.
Yeah, Vince, anything else to add?
Oh, look, I just was going to get your thoughts on the defence and how they held up without Wiedering back there. They looked very shaky to start with, but I thought they improved as the game went on. But, I mean, is the answer going to be to have Lewis Young down there and guys like that? Or I mean, even McGovern, he played a reasonable game. I think he did a few very good things in the back line. Yeah, but he was very slow to get going in the first quarter, but he came good towards the second half, I thought. What did you make of the defence and how they operated as a unit, the defensive six?
Yeah, look, and I'll give you. I played a game at Princes Park against North Melbourne. We're playing, and I played on Donald McDonald deep in the forward line. They spread them right out. Our midfield plays very little pressure on guys. Guys like Larkham were coming out of the centre. Donald only had to take a step that way, and he was off, and they were putting it out in front of him. He probably should have kicked 7 goals on me in the first quarter. And and to be perfectly honest, the only people I was dirty on were the blokes in the midfield who weren't chasing, weren't tackling, weren't putting any pressure on the guys in there. So and that I think was a little bit of the case. There's a lot of nerves down there, though. They made some pretty bad mistakes. That goal Zorko kick looked horrible, and there are a few fumbles and things down there. But overall, the way the ball was coming in was way too easy, and it wasn't until the midfield actually started putting some pressure on the Lions midfield and made them kick around corners and not make it easy for them. So, and that really helped our back line. I still had some worries down there because of the height and the the players that Brisbane have got down their forward line, Danaher and Hipwood and so on. I mean, they really did stretch us, but. And McGovern, who was mentioned, I thought he was fantastic. I thought he was great back there. And I said at the start of last year, if McGovern in the back line and Martin in the forward line can have good years, then I think we'll have a pretty good team because they've both got something a little bit different and a little bit special. And McGovern's starting to work it out now, and hopefully he's 80 or 90% of what his brother was, and he'll be a bloody good footballer.
And Kemp, how did you think?
Yeah,
Kemp?
Kemp was all right. They all did. I thought Lewis Young too. He sort of really held his own back there and was very strong. So no, they did, but it did get a bit easier for him because the pressure was being applied upfield, so that did help.
Fair enough.
No, they were good. Even Boyd, who made some mistakes early, he sort of popped into it. Saad had a great duel with Cameron, and that was worth the entry fee itself just to go and watch those two against each other.
It was great, wasn't it? Hey, by the way, one last point, Reese. In that last couple of minutes, we saw Carlton behind, chasing a goal to get in front, and eventually Harry puts his big body in front and takes a mark and kicks that goal from right in front. But how well did we defend that last minute? I mean, they obviously have gone to work in the off-season, haven't they, to do those match simulations where, we're in front by whatever it was, a point, How do we defend that with 1 minute and 10 seconds to go? I obviously practiced it quite well because Brisbane had some chances, but they were shut down every time, and in the end we won by a point.
I reckon it's as quick as Charlie Curnow's ever run in his life. He just took off. As soon as they bounced that ball, he took off and he was in our back line. So,
well, that was good. I thought that was excellent.
And he did that last year as well. So,
he did that against the Gold Coast, I remember, up there on the Gold Coast. He basically won us the game off his own boot, and then he went down back and saved the game as well.
Yep, yeah. Could have like that sort of stuff. But, no, and it is. It's just being smart in how you take each contest and just nullify the ball. And it was always going to be hard for them to get a clean possession out, and that's all you really got to do, and nullify the situation and bide your time. The more ball ups or throw ins, the better off we're going to be, and that's how they did it.
So, Rhys, you're Michael Voss. It's Monday. Are you happy? Are you so-so? How? What would you?
What
be
a ridiculous question! Come on, of course he's happy.
I wouldn't be happy. Well, look at the start. You can't give teams 7-goal start, Vince.
I realise that, but I mean,
I'd sit down and watch the first quarter.
To knock off Brisbane in Brisbane, I think they've won 52 out of their last 60 games up there before last Friday night. But mind you, actually, what I'd be interested to know from Rhys is what he thought of Michael Voss's coaching performance, given that we'd given away such a massive lead by quarter time, and how he, did you identify any particular coaching moves that worked on Friday night?
I don't think he made moves as such, but and it's funny because the commentators were talking like, obviously, and I think it was Brownie on there at one stage, saying, Bossy would have given him a huge spray at quarter time sort of thing, and then when you hear the players talking afterwards, oh no, he was pretty positive about things, and I think that's the way. Completely different to what happened back in our day, but that's the way they do it these days. But you just got to keep that calm exterior. He would have been boiling inside, but and that's why I'd still show that first quarter and just the little things that we allowed Brisbane to be able to do, because we need to cut that out of our game. Well, we did, but it took us a quarter and a bit to do it. So. There's no harm in reinforcing that and just showing players, where they should have been and what they should have been doing. So, and then, top it off with some of the good stuff at the end to just, hit the track and get out there and hit Richmond hard this week.
Well, we wouldn't want to be giving side starts like that again, because let's face it, 99 times out of 100, if you give a side a 46-point start, you're not going to win the game. So Joe's right. He wouldn't have been happy from that point of view. Certainly that first quarter and a half, he would have been seething underneath. But there are lessons in that, and I'm sure that he'll go to work on that with the players. But I do think on the positive side of it, it really does signal a big message to the rest of the competition. No lead will be big enough against Carlton this year. We are still in the game, even if we're 5, 6, and even 7.5 goals behind.
Well,
we can still come back.
Collingwood would have been that team over the last, last 3 years. They've been that team that's been able to fight back and win games of football, and look where it's taken them to a premiership. So, as you say, but. Teams are going to kick goals against us. Teams are going to get run-ons, and those things are going to happen, and they're going to get the luck of the bounce or whatever's going to happen. So you need to have that, and what they did have is an attitude that they hearing the guys after the match, they didn't think it was insurmountable. They didn't think they were out of the game at all. So. Yeah. That's a great attitude to have, and that stems from your leaders and from your coaching group, and obviously they got them in at quarter time, and probably talked about a few of the things they didn't do too well, but talked about the things that they need to do to get themselves back into the game, and they did it. They didn't just go and kick 7-8 goals in the second quarter. They did it gradually, just piece by piece by piece by piece. Until we got in front, and then the siren blew. Wasn't that magnificent?
There was, and I'm sure that victory will instill a lot of belief in the players too, that they can come back from non impossible positions and still get back to a position where they can still win the game, and that really does augur well for the rest of the season, I would have thought.
Yeah, look, put it this way: when you're playing with some superstars in your team, you can do miraculous things. You really can. When you got a bloke like Charlie Curnow, Harry Mackay, Cripper, these sort of blokes running around out there, and we're going to have Walsh back soon. He is our star, I think, anyway. But so when you got blokes like that they're it's your superstars. I mean, I was next door, my next door neighbours. And the first thing I said to him, I said, our leaders need to, stand up and produce now. And Cripper, Cripper was quiet early, fantastic in that second quarter, and Charlie kicks multiple goals in the.
Didn't he light the place up, Charlie, in that third quarter? My God, he really did.
And that's against one of the best back lines in the league. Yeah,
amazing the amount of support we had up there. Well, it was very, very loud when we got that.
I like those guys that were dressed as the Blues Brothers. I thought that might have been Rocco. Anyway,
is that going to be a regular thing, or is that?
No. It's an initiative that I actually saw it on Facebook today. Some chap, I'm trying to remember his name now. I can't remember it, but maybe one of our viewers can enlighten us via the comment section. But they started this initiative and. In pretty warm conditions up there on the southeast coast of Queensland, they all got dressed up in their suits and ties and shirts and whatever, and they all went as the Blues Brothers. And didn't it look sensational up there in that stand?
It was actually a T-shirt.
Was it?
Had a suit tie. Yeah. Have a look.
Oh, was it? I thought it was actually the suits and ties. So they had me.
No, it's a T-shirt. Anyway.
Okay, fair enough.
The players actually mentioned afterwards that the support they got up there was fantastic, and I was up there for the final last year, and it was massive. It was massive up there with Carlton people up there. So
a lot of Carlton.
The supporters are up and going. Don't worry about that. They're
that Queensland supporters group. Yeah, that Queensland supporters group has grown to all sorts of proportions, and a fantastic supporter base up there. And well done to all of them if they're watching.
Well, Gina says they've been doing it for a couple of years, but if anyone knows any details, DC says it was sensational. All right, boys. Before we get to the votes, any last thoughts on the game?
What do you reckon?
No, look. Put it this way: that was a bonus. That was a huge bonus, we're going
8
up
points.
to Brisbane. Yeah, not even the way we did it and everything, with all the good things about it. Going up to Brisbane, beating them in round one, where they just don't get beat, and they're one of the flag favourites. Don't forget that they're one of the flag favourites. They're almost. I can't remember that whether they had too many players out. I don't think it was. They might have one or two, but we had some more important players out, and some more and a lot of inexperienced players. And we went up there and beat them, and that really is going to hold us in good stead, because that probably a game a lot of people, a lot of Carlton supporters wouldn't have even picked us to win, in their tipping. But
Joe.
People speak.
Most of us,
I gave Reese that one.
Most of us didn't tip them, but you're right.
But
it's almost what they call that 8-point victory type of thing.
Shouldn't be talking about the betting, but we're $3.85 to win the game, which is enormous odds in a 2-horse race.
Well, imagine our odds at quarter time.
Oh, yeah.
Well, if you jumped on at quarter time, you would have got 50 to 1, I reckon. Maybe even more.
He would have laughed at you, wouldn't he?
I'll give Jimmy Buckley a ring. He'll know what's going on in the stuff.
All right, let's get to the votes. Reese, give us your votes and why you gave them to who you did.
Geez, that's Walsh up there. That's a good one, isn't it, eh? No, that's my votes. Harry, big H. I thought he was fantastic all night, and it's to see him, at the end kick that goal was terrific, and won the game for us. So he gets a 3. Hewitt was just Hewitt and Cripps with a 2. I could have put them either 2 or 1 either way. But I give Hewitt the nod there just because he's a bit more unknown, and Cripper will get a lot of other votes during the course of the year. So, I think they were the standouts for me, and good on them.
Reece, you and I must have been watching a different game because Joe's gone and given Sam Walsh his 3 votes according to that screen.
No, it didn't say. Vince, remember I told you it didn't save last night, and I was working on this till 3 a.m. I'll tell you who I gave my votes to in a minute.
All right, I just saw Sam Walsh, and I thought I didn't notice him get a kick.
He got all the beers, all the pies.
Hey, Reece, I'll let you know now, mate. Now that seeing this is your first show with us, these sorts of mistakes happen on a very regular basis, and Joe's always got an excuse for them, of course. But I always find them a great source of amusement.
So next week I'm going to let Vince. Next week I'm going to let Vince do the PowerPoint that takes.
Well, he had the same 3 as me, Vince, in a different order though. So
I
think we've just about got it right. The 3 best there.
Yeah. Oh, look, I thought Cripps for his leadership as much as anything else. It's not that he got the most possessions or anything like that, but he just bored in when it was needed. When we needed someone to stand up, he was the man, and I just thought he did an amazing job and kicked a vital goal too in that. Was it the last quarter?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was the last quarter.
Yeah.
Harry again. And isn't Harry looking good? Like, he looks like he's had a fantastic pre-season. He's lean, he's fit, he's absolutely ripped, and I reckon he's in for a big year based on that. If he can stay injury-free, I reckon he's going to have a very, very big year, Harry Mackay. And George Hewitt, again, was everywhere, and I thought he deserved at least the 1 vote. So they were my 3-2-1.
And mine was 3 votes to Mackay, 2 votes to Cripps, and I gave 1 vote to Newman. I thought Newman did quite well in defence. I thought he was quite well. So mine is – I'll fix that. But the next one that's got the leaderboard is correct. I can tell you that.
Okay.
Thank God. Thank Christ.
So Harry on 8?
Harry's on 8. Patrick's on 6. Hewitt's on 3. And Nick Newman on 1. I thought Nick Newman played a good game. Yeah, last year, we used to have something called brownie points. We're going to get something done. This year, Reece is going to give us a Spirit of Carlton award. And this has gone to...
Big H, of course. Yeah, the Spirit of Carlton award. And basically, the Spirit of Carlton is the past players that I'm involved in. So, And we actually give an award to a player at the end of the year who shows, the spirit on and off the field that we think, and Blake Acres actually won it last year for the little things he was doing, week in, week out in important matches. He was fantastic. So he won our overall award last week, but it's great to be doing a weekly award with that. And Big H Mackay, he gets it mainly for that goal that gets the monkey off his back. And I just think that was an important occasion for all Carlton supporters, all Carlton players. You could see Charlie at the end of the game was wrapped with his mates, sort of thing, and what he was able to do. So,
did he have the weight of expectation of the entire Carlton, supporter base on his back? He must have felt like
he went back and kicked a drop punt.
Exactly. He must have felt like there was a 10-ton truck ready to drop its load on top of him if he missed that shot. But well done, Harry. No, it's a great choice for that award, and great initiative. And we look forward to having your Spirit of Carlton award winner on a weekly basis, Reece. That'll be great.
No worries, guys.
And of course, at the end of the year, we'll get you to give us your selection as the Spirit of Carlton award winner for the year.
Yep. No, fantastic. No, very good. Thanks, guys. And pleasure to be talking Carlton, and especially when we're winning too. 1-0.
Absolutely.
There's another 16 mobs we've got to get hold of now.
Before you go, David.
Yes.
This Thursday, Carlton against your beloved Tigers.
Yep.
What are your thoughts? So we know that there's no Doc. What are you thinking? Richmond looked ordinary yesterday, but
they started pretty ordinary and finished a bit like but not as good as us. So, but they're back there. They're in a rebuilding sort of phase at the moment, and I really don't know where they are at the moment. They If Lynch and Martin come back, it's going to pose a bigger threat. But I think we should dispatch them pretty easily. It's going to be a big game. I'm not going, unfortunately, because I've just had both my knees replaced about 7 weeks ago. So so I'll get to a quieter game in about 2 or 3 weeks' time, and start getting back to the footy then. But looking forward to watching on the tally, as most people will be, and going to be a great game. Going to be a great game.
So what's your prediction, Rhys? How many points?
Carlton by 40-something, 42.
Really? 42? Wow.
Vince will be going Richmond because he went Brisbane last week by 30-something. So what will I put you down for, Vince?
Joe,
Richmond
I
by
won't
36?
be going Richmond. I actually think Richmond will be bottom 4 material this year. There you go. I'm making a prediction that they'll actually finish. They'll be finishing bottom 4. If they don't, it'll definitely be bottom 6. But no, I think we'll account for Richmond fairly easily. But you wouldn't want to take them too easily, too nonchalantly, if you know what I mean. And if they do get Lynch,
I'll make a prediction. Yeah. Harry and Charlie will kick over 10 goals between them on.
Whoa, here we go. Jeez.
Wow. You don't rate the Richmond defenders then?
The Richmond backline looked bloody terrible.
Pretty ordinary on the weekend.
I was rubbing my hands together when I'm thinking, who's going to play on Harry? Who's going to play on Charlie? And so we'll pick them up.
I think they'll bring Dusty back for this, and I think they'll bring Lynch in as well. I think there's one other
bring
that they
Jesus Christ back.
Was it Nankervis? Was it the captain Nankervis back as well?
Yeah.
I think that'll make a difference
them all back.
to them.
It's not going to make any difference whatsoever.
I can bring Royce
with my 41 points in.
Look, I'm going for Carlton by half that much, 21 points.
You sure you don't want to go by Richmond, Vince, like last week?
No.
I want to go Carlton.
Hey, listen, I was only 5 goals out. I said Brisbane by 29, so I was 30 points out. I was 5 goals out.
Well, that brings us to our tipping ladder, and because David wasn't on last week, I can
tell you, David. Now, David, be honest with us. We'll take you on trust.
Brisbane. No, I would have tipped Brisbane.
No, you wouldn't, David. I gave you Carlton, you idiot.
No. I know he didn't tip bloody Carlton. So,
I didn't think. No, I was pleasantly surprised, as I think most Carlton people were.
All right, so I'm going to take it off. So, the only one that tipped Carlton
was Joe. So Rhys is on 0 and I'm on 0. Okay.
And I'm going to tip the same as you every week so that I can't lose.
Do you know what Joe does, Rhys? He's a cheater. Yeah. Once he's got the lead, every week he asks you what you're tipping, and he'll go with exactly the same tip. So that he's always one.
I'll go first from now on, Vince.
Oh, hang on a minute. Is that why the votes were the same as mine, Vince? Your vote.
That's right. Anyway, Joe's going to go for Carlton. He always goes for Carlton, pretty much.
Hey, before we let David go, David,
did you have a margin? Did you have a margin, Joe?
Yeah, I said Carlton by 30.
Oh, 30. Okay.
30. Yeah. Jeez.
David, before we let you go, we'd like to thank you on behalf of the Jumper Punch and Blue Sunday. We know of the struggles that you've had with your son, and we would like you to just give our viewers a couple of minutes about Prader-Willi, what it is, and how people can get involved and help people with Prader-Willi.
Oh yeah, look, I'm an ambassador for the Prader-Willi.
Vince has disappeared on us.
Prader-Willi Association of Victoria. I'm an ambassador at this point in time, and help them out with raising awareness. It's so much of raising awareness. For people who haven't heard of the condition, it's.
Can you explain to us what the Prader-Willi syndrome actually is, Rhys, so that people know?
Well, it's a genetic condition where basically your chromosomes are what piece you together. Now, the 15th chromosome is either deleted or partially deleted, which causes a number of issues, and that affects the part of the brain which is called the hypothalamus, which I don't want to get too
technical.
You become a doctor all of a sudden.
But the hypothalamus is part of the brain that regulates your body temperature, regulates your hunger, regulates your everything, basically everything, and it's the thing that's affected. So the people and the kids who have this condition, they're hungry all the time. They will go for food seeking.
So they just have an insatiable desire to eat food.
Yeah. My young bloke will have a jumper on in 30-odd degrees sort of thing, and you've got to plead with him to take it off. His body just doesn't regulate properly, and where people have heard of it is these kids have they'll go food seeking, they'll go into bins, they'll find food anywhere, and and a lot of them over the years have died from the condition which has caused them from overeating, their stomach splitting or whatever, because they've gorged themselves to death basically. So it's not a very well known condition. He's 20 now, and he's a handful at times, but he's my boy, and we're here to look after him and make sure he's safe. That's the main thing, making sure that people with disabilities and they're in a safe environment. We have all our pantry locked, our fridges have got locks on them, freezer lock on it, so he can't access food. So at home, at least he can feel in a safe environment, and he knows when his food's coming. And he's a good kid too, Cooper. He's got his issues, but haven't we all?
We all have issues. So David, you said in May there's a big push or a big fundraising effort.
We do. We have Prader-Willi month in May, so if I can throw a few things up around May sort of thing, and if anyone wants to jump on and donate and so forth, I'll be able to put the links to the association and what we're doing and how we're going about it. But
and you also you also do this initiative. I'm trying to remember what it is. It's the 15.
15 for 15. Yeah,
15 for 15. Can you explain to us what that's all about?
Yes, I was trying to talk them out of it this year, but they're doing it again. But it's to do 15 things. It can be anything over 15 days, and just to raise money for the charity. It's look, put it this way: the people on the association of the Prader-Willi Association, there's no government funding. They're mums and dads who have got the problems, at home of their kids and that. So, they're just mums and dads, and they have to put their time into that. It's normally the younger ones where the kids aren't that bad to handle sort of thing. But as they start getting a bit more demanding as they get older, they're a bit harder to handle. So, it's so any little bit that can help from any of the Carlton family who have been great over the years, it'll be much appreciated.
I think I remember you doing.
That's we'll have that coming up in
May
time.
Yeah. I think I remember you doing 15 interviews in 15 days or something like that, wasn't it? You were interviewing past players and all that sort of thing.
Blokes I had run-ins with and so forth.
Greg Williams was one of them, wasn't he?
Greg Williams offered to do it. Yeah, I'd quite a few. Dennis Banks, he's helped us.
Dennis
out
Banks gave you a touch up one day at the MCG. I remember that one.
Yeah,
right in front of me that happened.
Yeah, and it's funny. I mean, we've had a couple of events and different things, and there was a golf day only a couple of weeks ago that MC Labour, who I work for, had. Mark McClure was there. Craig Bradley come along. Greg Williams come along.
Yep.
Terry Danaher.
They'll always be in if it's a golf day. Don't worry about that.
Yeah. Well, Terry Danaher and Paul Vanderhaar, and I've had guys like Daisy Thomas and that come to another function we've been at, and Ben Johnson, and there's been quite a few from clubs who just
Isn't that great?
Help out sort of thing. So it's fantastic.
Great to see. Yeah,
that AFL environment is a great environment, and they are happy to help. So it's fantastic.
That's good. David, during the week, if you want to send me, I'll get your email off you off Vince, and you can send me the links, and I'll put them up on our Facebook page so that people can then go and have a look and donate, and we'll do something here. Don't worry about that as part of the.
We'll do our own 15. We'll do our own 15 in 15 when the time comes.
We'll give you 15 minutes with Golden Tonsils Lodgesano.
Anyway, I think you can think of something a lot better than that, Joe. Anyway, we'll work it out. We'll work it out at the time.
On behalf of the Jumper Punch and Blue Sunday, thank you very much for
it was
joining
that
us.
title because I dished a few jumper punches out over the years. So that's a handy little one, that jumper punch. Grab them under there and just give them one under the chin. And
you can't do them now. You can't do them now.
George Hewitt got one in the other day. So
he got fined about $2.5 grand for that one.
He got $2.5 grand.
If you were
Jesus
playing
Christ.
now, David,
imagine if I was playing, mate.
Yeah, I was going to say, you'd have played one
You'd be
game
broke.
a season and you'd be owning the club money.
Donald Trump's bloody fines wouldn't compare to mine.
You'd be owning them. Anyway, David, thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you next week. And all the best with your son. And people, I will put all the links up this week, so please, please, please help the guys along. I mean, we all enjoyed watching David, so he did stuff for us. It's time for us to help him. So, David, thank you very much for joining us.
No, great to be a part of, and look forward to each Sunday coming on here and giving my 2 bobs worth. But
absolutely,
yeah, it's great, and more importantly, go the Mighty Blues, especially against the Tigers this week. Let's get 2 wins on the board. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, David. See you, mate.
Good on you, Reese. Thanks, mate.
Well, there you go, Vince. That was
Wasn't that fantastic to get David Rhys-Jones.
Good man, David. So, guys, his son does it hard. So let's help him along. Vince, do you know there were 3 other games this weekend?
Yes, there was. Well,
go for it.
I mean, we'll just quickly go through the final scores, will we? I don't think we need to do anything more than that. The first game, of course, was on Thursday night over at the SCG, where the Sydney Swans kicked 12 goals, 86 to overcome the Melbourne Demons 9-10-64. And I guess that was a really good start for the Sydney Swans. Melbourne still got issues in their forward line. The big one was the Suns, wasn't it? Damien Hardwick coaching against his old side. And they were very, very impressive. 14-15, 99 to Richmond 9-6-60. And, of course, they had only kicked 2 goals to half-time, Richmond. So they came back in that third quarter and kicked 6 unanswered goals in that quarter, but they still got done by 39 points. So
they're no Carlton, Vince.
No, I think it's going to be a very long year for the Tigers. Question will be, can the Suns win enough games to make the 8 for the first time in their history? And the other game, of course, was an absolute cherry on top for Carlton supporters this weekend, where we saw the GWS Giants take revenge on Collingwood, who did them by a point in the prelim final. They kicked 18 goals, 6, 114 to Collingwood, 11, 16, 82. They kicked a few late ones, Collingwood, to make the score sort of half respectable, but really GWS completely dominated Collingwood in that game, and not a good start for the reigning premiers.
Fantastic. So, Vince, I'm only going to put up the shortened ladder because we all know that the other team's in place. So here it is at the moment.
Yeah, the two newest sides in the competition are both on top of the ladder. Gold Coast, who've never been up on top of the ladder, they needed a round where there was only 4 games in order to do so. I dare say if there were 9 games, they probably wouldn't be on top. But anyway, Gold Coast are on top with 4 points, very healthy percentage of 165. GWS, Sydney and Carlton with our 1-point win and a percentage of 101.2. Make up the top 4, and then of course the 4 sides who lost: Brisbane, Melbourne, Collingwood, and Richmond. All the other sides will play next week, and in fact, all 18 sides will play next week.
Thank God. Now, Vince, as we've changed the format of the show, we now have a new segment.
We do.
Big Vincenz's verdict. There's Big Vincenz giving down the verdict. What would you like to what's your verdict this week? Have you got?
Well, my verdict this week is that I just wanted to talk. I talked a little bit about it during the program, but just very briefly, I think the verdict is in on. I had to look. I thought I'd wait until this segment rather than debate the point with David Rhys-Jones. He reckons Pitnet can still come into the side and still play first ruck, and De Koning be in the second ruck and floating around the forward line. I disagree. I think the verdict that came out of that game was that we can afford to put De Koning as our first ruck and have Harry Mackay in the second ruck. So while he's not kicking goals or the ball's not coming down there, he can certainly ruck around the ground. And I think it's time to make a call on our first ruck position. And unless Pitnet can get back into form via the VFL, and if De Koning's form, basically declines to the point where he needs to be dropped or he can be replaced by Pitnet, I would not be playing both of those guys in the same team. So my view is that it's time to let the reins go on Tom De Koning. It's time to give him that responsibility of being the number one ruckman. And with the support of Harry, I think they can make that work this year. I would not be playing Pitnet, but that's my verdict for this week.
Okay. We also have another.
I'm very happy to get people that are watching the show right now to send us their comments. Tell me what they think. If you agree with me, fantastic. If you disagree with me, fine. Tell me why you think that's wrong. I'd be very interested to know your views.
Same here. We have another new segment. Oh, hang on. And Peter says, and yet the club gave Pito 3 extra. Was it 3 or 4?
I think you might find that the club gave him a 4-year contract last year because he probably came relatively cheap and he was just happy to get the longevity, 4 years playing football, even if it meant doing it on vastly compromised income. So I think that's probably why they gave him 4 rather than, 2 or 3.
I think next week I'm going to have to find a new spot. You can see the sun. You got to remember, people, it's
the halo over your head.
Only 4:30 here. We have another new segment.
You do need to find another spot. Yep.
Last year we had Big Vincenz's Omen bet. What a disaster that was. So this year, I'm going to make an excuse for Vince. It's very hard to pick winners during the week when you only on a Sunday get the fields for Monday, Tuesday, and possibly Wednesday. So this year we decided to make it a football bet. So
yes.
I suppose this could rival.
So Big Vincenz's bet of the week. That's what it's going to be.
Could rival Vic's multi.
Bet of the week. Yeah, it's basically something along those lines.
It doesn't necessarily
we're going to make it football related. No.
Yeah.
I was originally going to try and include things like certain players to kick so many goals and certain players to get so many possessions, but the odds aren't up for that sort of thing by Sunday night for the following week. So what we're going to do is probably just go with selections of teams to beat other teams. So I've decided to go with the 4 matches next week, which involve just Victorian teams playing each other.
Whoa, okay.
So these are the 4 games: Carlton and Richmond, Essendon and Hawthorn, Geelong and St Kilda, and Melbourne and the Bulldogs. And I'm going for Carlton to defeat Richmond, Essendon to defeat Hawthorn, Geelong to beat St Kilda, and Melbourne to beat the Doggies. They're all the home teams, and I think they'll all do it between 1 and 39 points. There's the odds for each of those results, and if you multi them all up, you get odds of $21.55. So if we put a $10 bet, Joe, we'll get $215.55 back if we win. That was based on the fixed odds market on Sportsbet. Based on last night's figures. So that's what we did.
If anyone is working at Sportsbet and would like to give us an account for free, we'd be more than happy to take it.
What we're going to wait, Joe? How about we put $300 into the account? That'll take us into the 30 weeks of the season. Which includes finals and all that sort of thing.
Okay. Any money we make, we'll give to the Prader-Willi Foundation. All right.
That's it.
All right. I'll send you some money this week. So, guys, Big Vincenz's bet: Carlton to defeat Richmond, Essendon. I can't say that. The Scum to beat Hawthorn. Essendon Scum. Sorry, Tanya. Geelong to defeat St Kilda. And Melbourne to defeat Bulldogs. All of his margins are between 1 and 39 points.
Yeah.
As you said, multiply the odds. So the fixed odds today were $2.12, $2.18, $2.12, $2.20. They may go up and down during the week.
Yeah, but multi them up. The point is to make it a 4-leg multi, and you get the bigger odds that way.
Yeah. So we're $215. So there you go. All right. So Vince,
if it comes off.
If it comes off. When it comes off.
Yes, when it comes off.
So, Vince, that's brought us to the end of the show. So,
yes.
First of all, I know he may not be watching or he may be watching, but we would like to thank David Rhys-Jones for giving up an hour and a bit of his time on a Sunday. Also, like to thank you, Vince, for all your hard work in getting David Rhys-Jones. I know people think it's quite easy, but you had to do a bit of scurrying around. And we hope Pete's watching. G'day, Pete.
It all comes down to the relationships you have with people, Joe. I've got to say,
exactly.
Look, Rhys was very, basically very forthcoming straight away, saying, "Yeah, look, I'd love to be involved, and more than happy to come on every week as best I can." In fact, there may be a few weeks where he may have to commit to other things where we might have to get a replacement. But I've got a couple of other people lined up that are actually more than happy to come on in those circumstances, and we'll soon find out before too long who those people are. But most weeks we'll have Rhys. Yeah.
Okay. All right, so before we go, just a couple of things. As you know, we are on the Jumper Punch channel. So the show's happening this week is on Tuesday night on Blue Abroad channel. You have the boys doing the Jumper Punch. Then on the Jumper Punch channel.
And that's live.
Yeah, it's live these days. Yeah, it's live these days. Then on the Jumper Punch channel, you've got on Wednesday at midday, Rocking All Over the Burbs. I think that's a bit like a street talk.
Yeah, a bit like a street talk segment with Paul Sebastiani with the microphone out there in the streets of wherever he happens to be. Melbourne. Well, he was in Lygon Street last week for the first episode.
Yeah, this week I think
just about everyone he spoke to, I happen to know.
Yeah, me too.
But
I think this week he's in Brisbane.
But I think he might have been. I think he might have been up in Queensland over the weekend celebrating his 30th birthday. Happy 30th, Paul, if you're watching. Yes. And I think you might find that Paul and Rocco and some of the others that were up there might be out there doing an episode of Rocking All Over the Burbs in places like Brisbane or the Gold Coast. So that'll be an interesting watch this coming Wednesday.
It is. Wednesday evening, we have at 7:30 p.m. Forever Rivals with the Essendon, Collingwood, Richmond and Carlton boys all at each other.
Mm-hmm.
Then Thursday at 5:30, this is a new show called The Change Room. I don't know much about that, so
I dare say it'd have something to do with team selection, injuries, something along those lines. I'm not sure myself, Joe, but I'm guessing here. But I would suggest that being a Thursday, it sounds like it might be a show that concentrates on Carlton's selections, the ins and outs, and also what injuries may have been incurred since the previous match.
And then on Friday at midday, even though it's predominantly a basketball show, they will be starting to do a bit of AFL. You've got Rocco's son doing double-double. I think that's a basketball term. I'm not a basketballer, so please excuse me. Yep. And then on Sunday evening at 7:30, you have the cream of the cream. Me and Vince doing Blue Sunday Live. I mean, can it get any – well, what a perfect way to end a week, Vince.
Yes, indeed. Well, the beauty of it is that by Sunday night in most of the rounds, we will have seen all 9 games played and won or lost. And when there is an exception to that, we'll probably end up doing the show on a Monday night instead of a Sunday, but those will be few and far between. So we'll certainly let you know well in advance if we're not going to be broadcasting live on a Sunday. It'll be, if it's not Sunday night at 7:30, it'll be Monday night at that time.
That's right. Again, please like, share, and subscribe. Facebook at Blue Sunday. On YouTube, it's the Jumper Punch. So, and I can't say any more about it than that. Guys, thank you very much for your ongoing support and participation. So don't forget to like and share. Vince, thank you very much for getting David Rhys-Jones, and thank you for coming on tonight.
Pleasure.
So on behalf of myself and Mr. Vince Lochisano, it's goodbye and 1,
go
2,
Blues!
3, go Blues!
We are the Navy Blues. We are the old dark Navy Blues. like to send up will keep our end up, and they will know that they've been playing against the famous